With 4 million sounds, what will you create? Take the free trial today.
We've just done a recording with Ken Mcbeth, who's in Edinburgh. Very kindly came on. It was done a bit impromptu, which is why I'm at home. So it was a kind of with Ken Mcbeth home edition, because I'm at home and he's at home. But when I plugged my headphones in, which I thought would be useful for cancelling the echo, I didn't realise that they were going to actually use this mic instead, which is really crap. So I hope we can restore the audio. Anyway, over to the interview, and hopefully it will sound great, or at least intelligible from my side.
Oh, well, hello, everybody. This is a kind of, Superbooth home edition, and I'm at home, which I usually record at the office, and my guest, Ken, is at home, Ken Mcbeth there, and we just thought, it's a Sunday afternoon, we thought we'd just slip one in, if that's not too immodest way of putting it. How are you, Ken? You're in Glasgow, right, or Edinburgh? Glasgow?
Sir, I'm in Edinburgh.
Edinburgh, I do beg your pardon.
Anyway, nice to see you, Nick.
Lovely we could connect. I mean, obviously, these are strange times. You're at home. I mean, normally you'd be in your workshop, beavering away at kind of products in preparation for Superbooth, which you are a regular. You've been there, going there as long as I have. So what's changed for you? Just sort of, are you able now to focus on like new ideas and new stuff? I mean, what are you doing with your work time?
Yeah, so there's a thing that I call COVID mind. Lots of people have COVID mind just now, and it affects the concentration. It affects the way you think. I think that there's just this underlying mixture of stress and what contributes to stress also being a little bit of fear. To answer your question there, quite typically, I mean, I'm not going to move my iPad around because it's kind of like propped up against something. But actually, I'm on a kitchen table just now, and I have 3 PCs. And incidentally, this is quite normal for me. I tend to get up at about, start work at 5 in the morning. It's typical for me, even in the winter. I kind of go to sleep and I'm always having ideas about what I can create or what I can do. So I have quite a few ideas that I'm working on just now. It feels kind of normal. Yes, my lab or my office or my workshop or whatever, it is in fact about 10 minutes from here. I normally cycle to it because, it's just a short distance. But for obvious reasons, I would rather not go up there. I use a shared area. Actually, it's an old government building, and I have quite a nice sized space in it. But there are different artists of different types in it. And actually, I've had to go up there 1 or 2 times recently. Nobody is in. The place has I'm not good. Well, I will. It's got deathly silence. It's got deathly silence to it,
Right.
And I am at the very end of a corridor, which is blacked out just now. I don't mind. It just means nobody's in. And nothing against people, but we have to be very careful.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the interesting things is, and it's been a consistent theme, because I've been doing lots and lots of these interviews with various people, as well as site talks. And one thing that seems to be very consistent is that most people in our industry, manufacturers, designers, musicians who are perhaps not in bands, most of their time is kind of isolated in many ways anyway. So in fact, what is actually happening is, in some ways, the less amount of time of distraction there is, now people are, like you say, are able to kind of focus on things, and it can be, and it's not for everybody, a creative time if you can get in the zone. If not, it's hard feeling anxious and whatnot. But so are you working on new stuff, or are you just finishing?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. So Nick, gosh, as always, when I'm working on something, I'm working on something else. So recently, Schnitzler commissioned me to make a new black dual oscillator.
Nice.
It's rather nice. Here it is. That's the back panel.
That looks like.
And you access preset potentiometers. multi-turn preset potentiometers for quite precision. Obviously, the look has changed from the silver. I have different box jack sockets on this now that I think they're very good. I was going to say superior. They still have the same connectivity, but they're PCB mounted, and I don't have to do a lot of earth wiring. It's still got those lovely this is the dual oscillator. Yeah. So I've done the back end filter as well. But Nick, to answer your, I'll put this away now. To answer your question there, for this new X Series Mark II Black, there are about another 7 modules that I am working on.
And that Eurorack, is that HP? Not
these
HP
ones, yes, Nick. These are 3 Eurorack modules. So I'm quite excited. There are some modules that I always wanted to do. So I know. Sorry, I don't know. In this time just now, are you concentrating? No, I've been doing these things before this time. Yeah. I've been designing these things anyway.
Yeah.
But also I was working on a couple of other synthesizers. And one was a thing that I was calling the M7D, which was going to be a desktop kind of sliders job. And it is becoming the M7 DKB. So it may well have touch keyboard stuff on it and things like that.
And is that because the iteration, because there was the M5, wasn't there, which was sort of, was that the one what was the one that was like the large format?
That was the very one, Nick. Yeah. That was the M5, which became the white M5N. And that was, I think, for those that had it, they love it. It's massive. Yeah. Shipping nightmare. Weighs a ton.
Yeah.
But hey, I was designing that thing probably 15 or 16 years ago. That's where it kind of started. It may even be 17 years ago.
Wow.
And I always like
slow burner.
Yeah. I always kind of loved the idea of playing with sliders. So recently, I've bought in a whole mass batch of sliders. So I think that given the opportunity, I may well be doing that again. But Nick, just to keep answering your question, how does it feel working in lockdown? Not too bad, really. I'm used to it. Yeah.
So are you able to concentrate more clearly? I mean, because you've got to sort of side the lack of distraction against the kind of the baseline of worry and anxiety, I suppose. Which
okay. So normally I do start early in the morning, as I have said. Normally I'll be breaking out of here for no particular reason. I'll be getting out about 11:30 in the morning. I'll go up to my workshop. Hey, I can doodle with stuff or work with prototype stuff, the experimental process. I can't do that now.
No.
I can't do that there. But, well, if anything, it focuses your concentration even more because it has to be right. It always has to be right.
Yeah.
And regarding my workshop there, I mean, they tell me we're still open. And it's not like you're walking into a supermarket where there are lots and lots of people. There's nobody there.
Yeah. Well, you could. I mean, it's like I'm going to the office to work because I can. Basically,
yes.
I mean, that's my, because I'm the only person there, so there is no kind of contact with anybody. And to be fair, my only other choice is getting this lot into this tiny little child's bedroom, which I don't think is really likely to be.
No.
Yeah. Is not.
Well, listen.
I've got another question for you then. So.
Okay, go for it. Go.
So this sort of long design process. How much of it is that the figuring out the circuitry and stuff, and then how much of it ends up being the aesthetic and the way it looks? I mean, and are there particular phases to that, or do they all happen at the same time?
Oh, that's a funny one. Because in my mind, I think, oh, wow, wouldn't that be amazing? Right? And then, of course, you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
But, so, yeah, I guess I think I know what it, and it sounds facile, but I think I know whatever I'm going to make, I think I know what I want it, what it's going to look like. And with it comes almost like subconscious, is I know how it will work.
Right.
And then you go through the nuts and bolts of designing its functionality, circuit function.
Yeah, because you have to make it work. I mean, in your head is one thing, but obviously in reality is a very different thing.
Yeah. So Nick, that's a funny one. You've made me think there. If I was like an author writing a book, you might be asking a writer, you know, how do you write your science fiction novels, or how do you write your period piece? And how do you consistently, you know, write a thing that way? And doing a circuit is like writing it to a nerd like me. I can imagine my answer would be, yes, it's going to be set in the 17th century. They're typically this kind of cast. I'll bring them in. I'll make some kind of activity happen, like a murder or something like that. We will have a range of characters. And I would imagine that an author, for instance, I have wanted to write, and sometimes I've dabbled with it. And I start with chapter 3, and I make my way through chapter 4 to about chapter 6. This is where all the activity happens that is crucial to the book. Mm. And then you move you write the endings and the start, and you can pull it all together. So with the synthesizer, or the module or whatever, that's kind of how it starts. Mm. I know what I want. I know the energy that will happen from it and for the user. And then it's like, okay, let's bring the cast in. Let's work it either side. And
that's very interesting.
That's how it happens, Nick.
So what would you have been showing at Superbooth?
Hey, Nick, you know me. It's a funny one at Superbooth now. What would I have been showing? I would have been showing my good friend Marco Haas, who is T. Ronschmeer, and I would have been showing St. John Mantle, who is our music machine guy, and we would have been doing a performance. That's what we were getting ready for. Mm. I would have been showing the modules that I would have been having by now had this not happened. Yeah, sure. I would have spent some time showing that. But the energy of the Superbooth for me is the performance thing, you know.
I was going to ask about that because you've been doing. I'm not sure if you did the first one, but you've definitely done at least the last 2 or 3, haven't you? And your kind of performances, T. Ronschmeer is quite a kind of. He comes across as kind of a punky performer guy. You're very performer orientated, and you both present this kind of. This character, which I suspect is not entirely you, but it's not entirely not you either, right?
Yeah. Well, okay, Nick. I think that I would love to be sensible and, not unhinged. I don't want to be unhinged or stuff like that. But I think that this is where character acting comes out. And this is where your own personality gets hidden by the character that you're playing. And once again, that's a design process. That's how you design how you're going to appear to your audience. Now, stand-up comedy works like this, straight acting works like this, etc. But, the person behind the act, gosh, you can have someone who's totally funny in a movie and you think they're, a laugh all the time, but they're serious people. And they've refined their art of comedy, for instance. Or you can have the actor that falls into the baddie. But really, outside of it, they're no baddie. They're just, that's their job. That's a craft. So with my act, with Marco and my friend St. John, we have our personalities. Believe me, when we are not on the stage, so to speak, we're just, pretty regular people with craziness.
So, I mean, it's really interesting because it's like this highlight event. So I'm wondering from the performer's point of view, do you do other gigs, or is that like the one that are you doing other gigs in the year, or is that your kind of big thing? I mean, so missing that must be quite a big deal because I'm sure there is preparation, but it comes across as very kind of off the cuff, which is kind of cool in a way as well.
So, Nick, to answer your first question, of course, this is a very, very exciting time for us. And yes, I mean, I don't perform all over the place. I know Marco does, to your Armsper. That's his job. My job's designing this lot. But it's so exciting. It reminds me of my old days when I was in a punk band, if you want to call it that. We were quite spontaneous. I don't want to use the F word, so I won't. But the rules.
Yeah.
There are no rules to this thing. And I mean, okay, I'll say it. We can see, or one can see people, especially in the old days before MIDI, where bands really had to practice.
Yeah.
And you were a good guitarist or a knockout drummer or a fantastic keyboard player. You were, by the way, back then. I think that sequencing, MIDI, sound manipulation, all that lot, has, of course, wonderfully opened up opportunities for people who needed to express themselves musically. And there is some fantastic music done by people who have maybe been trapped by the inability, to play all that old traditional.
Yeah. Then you can perform. I mean, and there's a lot of that goes on at Superbooth generally. So, I mean, I always get the impression that did you say St. John at the back? He seems to be the engine room, and you guys do your kind of rock starry stuff, but he's like keeping it nailed. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's so. How did it come about? I mean, I'm really curious. How did that project actually start? I mean, was it just like, let's try it, or was there a kind of how did you guys meet to do that? I'm just curious how the process goes.
So Nick, that's okay. I'll get through some of these questions.
I'm sorry.
What happened was, so what happened was, I think it was Superbooth 16 that I met a client called St. John Mantle, our machine, our music man. And we got on awfully well. There's another guy who deserves a mention called Stanley Arts. And me, St. John, and Stanley, we made an experimental. We decided, hey man, I know what you're talking about. Hey, I'm interested in that too. And hey, I'm interested in that. And we did that. And we did a performance in 2016, the first name I shall not mention for the cleanliness of your website.
F Buckety.
Yes, F Buckety. We'll just call it Buckety.
All right, let's call it Buckety.
We did this thing. I had never met Marco before, but he seemed to be, shall we say, enthusiastic about it. We decided that we would record, or not so much record, jam or whatever. And Captain Schneider, he said, hey, we have to get you guys on the stage. We have to have you doing this again at the Fez in the 2017. And that turned out to be very good because Marco is very practiced in. He's been doing music for a very long time, professionally. St. John has been working on music for so long, and I think he's worked with some interesting people too. It is not a difficulty for us to cohesively make something that is actually quite funny. It's not straight-laced. It's quite mad, as you know. And I think the spontaneity of it adds to, well, where is this going? Because sometimes we don't know. But it has to be said that St. John, with his sound design, keeps the whole thing together and allows both Marco and myself a freedom to move about, literally.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? I mean, I think particularly with electronic music, you don't tend to get so much of that before. I mean, I suppose the closest I could think to it is maybe Underworld, where there's only one frontman, but he kind of is the sort of driving the kind of showmanship, the force at the beginning, and you can feel all the energy coming off it. It's really cool, yeah.
So Nick, may I say that I was mentioning this to Andreas Schneider, that a while back we sold Conrad Schnitzler an M5, and Conrad, I think he really liked it. He liked it so much that he sent me 3 unique vinyl albums from Berlin. He sent me 3 CDs that were based on the M5. And the covers to the CDs were quite interesting. But he had one which had the M5, and it's got arrows pointing at bits of the M5, right? And it says, "Great oscillators, magic LFO, shit filter." It was like really funny. I loved this guy's humor, And I remember I spoke with him a couple of times. I spoke with Conrad on the phone, and he was aware of Buckety.
Right. Thank you.
In its early, pre these guys that I work with, I was doing it anyway. And he said, "Ken, when you are on stage, always remember to be crazy and let no one understand anything you are doing. Don't make any rhythm that they can understand. Make nothing and run around." And I've been doing this anyway. Typically in the old days when I would do a gig, I really thought, great guy, I understand that completely.
Excellent.
Sadly, Conrad isn't with us now, but I think I would have loved to have met him, but maybe he would have gone like this: "You're repellent."
Well, sometimes it's funny, isn't it? Sometimes when you meet the person you have a mental image of, and you haven't actually maybe met them before, and it's not the same. Yeah. By the same token, it can just reinforce your image of them in your own mind. I wanted to come back a little bit to synths as well and design. I mean, in terms of like complete systems, I mean, do you feel like what would you say is the heart? Is it like the oscillator? Is it the filter? Or do you feel that there's something else? Or is it the relationship between them? Because your oscillators, all your oscillators legendarily do sound very, very good and have a sort of meat to them that people kind of go,
Thank you. So Nick, I think you could probably do a performance or a recording based completely on oscillators. The filter is like the candy coating or the icing on the cake. The filter. I mean, obviously we love the filter, what it does, and the other little things. But yeah, oscillators. You could use function generators. It's like scientific oscillators. Oscillators will give you a long way. Nice, of course, when you couple it up to the other things. But I think, yeah, the heart of your sound is the oscillator. Gosh, I used to read, an oscillator is an oscillator. Sawtooth is a sawtooth, or a square is a square. But as you know from your experience, there are nuances and particular differences that give each instrument that people make a different character.
A lot of people, when they work with an oscillator, they use a kind of a core. Like you got, Pittsburgh, you have a Dixie core, and they're Sawtooth core, or 3340s or whatever. I mean, is there a Mcbeth? Is there a Mcbeth core?
There is, Nick. There is a Mcbeth core. I'm going to tell you something funny here because I'm liking what you're saying there. I think it's now feels like 3 years ago, from the company in Latvia that are making the SEM 340 and the filter and the envelopes and that. So I think I bought 150 of the oscillator chip, 100 of the filter chip, I bought the envelope chip and stuff like this, and I haven't used them yet.
Ah, interesting.
Right.
Is that because you're working? You got your own stuff? Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's like I've done prototype experiments with them, and I want to use them. Since I was a teenager, when the DigiSound synth was out, it used all these SEM chips, and it was like when I was young, I couldn't afford to make the DigiSound modular. Hey, in my laboratory, or whatever you call it, I've got like enough for a production run of something very interesting. But in my new kit, in the dual oscillator again, whatever, I just can't do it.
Right.
There's a particular oscillator sync sound, for instance, with my stuff, and I love it. And I just can't get it from these. And it is crucial, that sound, to them things.
Yeah, no, I didn't realise. I mean, because I've always been curious about this, because you think 3340 oscillators are 33, but they're not, because in one instrument they might sound absolutely amazing, and another one they might sound, they're all right, but they don't have this kind of, oh my goodness, where does that girth come from there? So is it about what's the difference?
All right, Nick, so I think a really good example of a 3340 chip used in synth is the Pro 1, Sequential Pro 1. Now, obviously, like lots of people like the Pro 1. It had the SEM oscillator. It's got the SEM filter configured as a 24 dB low-pass filter. I have to say, I've built different types of filter around the SEM. It's lovely. It's just lovely. It's so lovely. It's perfect. It's so perfect. It's like everyone else.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, it's like back in the day, I always remember this. There was a sort of window in time in the sort of 90s where all American pop music that had guitars in went through Pro Tools systems and Apogee converters, and it all sounded exactly the same sonically. There was a cookie cutter kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes, exactly, Nick. And you will also remember that during that period as well, when we had the DX7 and instruments like that, you can listen to a piece of music and say, yeah, that was the 90s, or that was the 80s. I'm thinking actually of the 80s.
Yeah,
that was the 80s. That's what it sounds like.
I wonder if that's just purely because there were only like two kinds of A to D's and D to A, so there was no variance in the kind of just the in and the out.
Yeah, I think so. I'm thinking of pop music, Nick. So maybe I'm not. I'm sure there was some fantastic. There will have been fantastic music done in that period. But if I'm thinking about the top bands, so I'm thinking about Duran Duran and Thompson Twins, and I don't know. They all have this sound, and I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm into listening to sound or synths or whatever. If you ask someone who's not into synthesizers, when do you think this music was made? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe so, yeah.
10 years ago or whatever. But a synth person will go, oh yeah, going by that side, as most definitely the 80s or the 90s or whatever. And of course, when these Curtis chips were happening, and the SSM chips as well. We have the Prophet 5, we have the Jupiter 8, we have the Jupiter 6. We have a lot of synthesizers from that time. And they're all really excellent, but they all can sound the same. So an Italian synth with SEM chips in it may sound just a little bit like an American synth with SEM chips in it. And my fear, Nick, is that if I actually use the SEM chips, which makes your life easy, my modules, if I'm using them, will sound like somebody else's, And hats off to the guys that are using those chips. So in our modular world, just now, there's obviously people taking great advantage of being able to get them. And I think it's great. To get to your point, how do you change this synth sound to this synth sound if they're using the same type of chips? Well, actually, there is a bit of external design to the chip. So it will come down to capacitor choice. It will come down to resistance choice, or the way that you have configured the area around the chip. So, gosh, I think SH101, that was a really, really fantastic sounding synth. And it's the 3340 oscillator. And if I compare the SH101 with the Pro one, they actually sound different.
Yeah.
But that's because of the way that certain parts were or part type was implemented. Certainly in Dave's Pro 1, he does the 3340, which goes to the 3320. That's the filter. He uses the 3310 envelopes. So he had really honed in on this SEM thing. In the SH101, they just use the 3340 oscillator. Then, pardon me. Then they use the Roland IR chip or whatever.
Yeah, they've all got different kind of stuff, haven't they? Yeah, it's interesting. I suppose the other thing is, engineering chops and tolerances of products that surround them have changed. Back then it would be like there were only maybe one or two or three perceived ways of doing things, whereas now there's probably a whole loads of different ways of doing things, and the nuance between those is, everybody does it their own way. So I mean, that must be why you get these different sounds. I mean, to bring the B word into existence, the Neutron uses 3340s, and that sounds really damn good. The oscillators sound beefy as hell, so they did it in their own way as well. Interesting.
Yeah, the B word, it's an interesting one. I think, gosh, it's going to be a couple of years ago now, but I saw pictures of the B Minimoog, and I saw the circuit boards, and I see it's all of it surface mount. You could get into the battle about, does surface mount affect the sound, does through hole affect the sound, and all that. But the thing with the B word is they are making something as economically as possible happen.
Yeah.
And gosh, that's what they're doing. I don't want to get into the ethics of this.
No, I wasn't really suggesting we go that way, but it was really more an illustration of that 3340s can all sound different depending on where they are.
Yeah. They will be using an awful lot of these in all sorts of products that they're doing.
Yeah, I would think so.
I think that's quite amazing. But I also think that now we're seeing this new polysynth, hey, this one here, not the B word, other people, they're using them as well. And I just hope that they all don't fall into an amalgam of similar sounding synths.
That takes us into another area, really, because, I mean, perhaps this will be the last one, because we started off as, we'll talk for 10 minutes, but I think we'll be going a bit longer than that, which is fine by me. I don't want to take a bunch of time. Yeah. But you're primarily engineering the analog world, but a lot of synthesis techniques are now starting to hybridize between digital and almost even going fully digital. Yeah. Is that something that interests you in any way, or are you?
Nick, it interests me. But I don't know. Maybe it's like a clock maker. Hey man, they're timepieces clocks. So I make ones with cogs and wheels. This one makes one with a digital clock or whatever,
Right. Okay. So it's not something that's interests you from a maker's point of view.
Not from a maker's point. I make a particular kind of bicycle, and that's what I do. But Nick, hey, I love the sounds of all this stuff. So when I see new, for instance, WaveStat, I would love to play the Korg WaveStat. Yeah. I would love to play that thing.
Yeah, I mean, that is unashamedly digital, and it's very clever. Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting what they've done. I mean,
if I wanted to do that kind of thing, I would get someone or others, to join me, and I say, "Hey, can we do this? Can we do that?" Yeah. And I get DSP programming guys and women or whatever, whoever they are, they would do that job. Yeah. And maybe then they would say, "Hey, Ken, come through the room. We've done this. What do you think?" And that would
that makes sense.
That would be fascinating to do, but that's not the way that I'm going to do it. I'm going to continue with my way of doing it. And if I need, and I mean really good entertainment from synths, and these wonderful digital machines out there, hey man, I'm going to use them too for my recording. Yeah. When we do this Earth Buckety, St. uses the most elaborate bunch of digital and analog stuff for our sound. We are always blown away by it. Yeah. So it's a good mixture of analog and digital. Fantastic, great times.
Absolutely. Well, Ken, thank you so much for talking to us. I mean, I really hope that we get to see you next year at Superbooth. We'll be able to do that. 2021, I want to see you in the lake.
Hey, they extended the stage for this year. I don't know if you know that. To give me more space to run back and forward on.
Oh, wow. That's such a
That's nuts.
So next year, you'll be able to, does that mean you're going to get fit in physical training so you can make the distance?
Hey, Guy, I cycle a lot, I walk a lot, but, I have a gym subscription.
Fair than me, that's for sure. Yeah. Ken, it's been lovely talking to you, though.
Yeah, it's been great talking with you, and in this strange way. Lovely to see you, but it's kind of, whoa.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Thanks, Ken.
All right, Nick. Thank you.